Hey everybody, it's Dr. Nick here. I just finished recording another great episode of The Hospitality Spirit. My guest today was Neil DeGuia. Neil is the General Complex Manager at the dual-branded Canopy by Hilton Chicago Central Loop and the Hilton Garden Inn Central Loop. During our conversation, we talked about a lot of interesting things, including what it's like to open a hotel, the importance of mentorship, and he gave some great advice for you if you're looking to get into this segment of the industry. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Hey everybody, it's Dr. Nick here with another exciting episode of The Hospitality Spirit. I'm really excited today to be joined by Neil DeGuia. Neil, it's great to have you on the podcast today.
It's great to be here, Dr. Nick. Thank you for the invite.
So Neil, you and I, if anybody tells you getting involved in associations and going to networking events is not worth it, we today are here to prove them wrong because
They
wrong.
They were all wrong. I'm so glad we connected there.
You and I met at one of the first face-to-face industry events that I had gone to kind of coming out of the global pandemic. It was a great event on the rooftop for our friends at the Illinois Hotel Lodging Association, the IHNLA. They hosted an event where GMs and senior leaders could come together and network. And we, as the School of Hospitality Leadership at DePaul, are an enthusiastic partner of the IHNLA. But more importantly, it was a time that you and I got to meet, and we got to hear all the exciting stories that you were telling us about this project that you were working on. And now here we are today on the podcast, and the project has come to fruition. Your hotel is open. So
yeah, it was a great event. I remember it like it was yesterday. I felt like there were so many faces that I hadn't seen in so long. Everyone was so optimistic about the direction we were heading in terms of, kind of getting our business back and hospitality's back. And that meeting, that mixer, I felt was a good start to kick that off. So, but yeah, and we were able to connect there. And like you said, here we are in opening up a couple of hotels.
Yeah.
Flash forward, here we are. And so, I'm very excited about this project, and I get really excited about talking about it each and every time.
So somebody gave me some advice very early on in my career when I was still in the industry before I got into academia. They said, wherever you are working, if you get a chance to go open a hotel or, since I was in hotel operations, do a property management system install or changeover. They said these two scenarios you should seriously consider jumping at because they are truly one-of-a-kind experiences that you'll rely on for the rest of your life. And I've been very blessed to be able to open up several properties, either brand new or closed for renovation and reopening and rebranded. And it's one of the areas that I want to kind of start with today.
Okay.
You are really fortunate to be able to open up a brand new complex in the city of Chicago. Coming out of the pandemic, there was probably some uncertainty if this was going to happen, but you did it, and you did it successfully. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about the property that you just opened, and you're the complex manager. So I want to maybe, for those in the audience that aren't really familiar with what that means, as opposed to just a single hotel, could you kind of explain that?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, let me tell you a little bit about our hotels. I mean, so we're two brand new Hilton hotels in one historic building in a landmark destination. So our hotels are the Hilton Garden Inn Chicago Central Loop and the Canopy Chicago Central Loop. We're directly located right across the street from our friends at the Willis Tower.
Great location.
Yeah. So, and we're within walking distance to, the Art Institute, Millennium Park, Chicago Riverwalk. And I mean, not to mention all of the other restaurants and shops and theater that really surrounds us. So yeah, as you mentioned, I am the complex general manager. So I oversee both properties. We just recently opened up one of the two hotels, the Hilton Garden Inn Chicago, just opened up last week, Thursday. So we're just over a week old today, which is very exciting for me and the team. And we hope to introduce the Canopy, the first Canopy in the state of Illinois, hopefully in early March or November, I should say.
So how How difficult is it? I mean, you've been involved with the industry for nearly 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
How difficult is it to open up a complex? I mean, is it is it difficult because you essentially have two concepts and two brands? Is it
Yeah,
relatively
yeah.
easy because it's within the same company? What
No,
are some of the challenges?
that's a great question. To be honest with you, in the 21 plus years that I've been in this industry, this has definitely been the most challenging project that I've worked on. The Canopy and the Hilton Garden, yes, they are within the same brand family, with the Hilton chain. However, they could not be any different in terms of experience and guest experience. And
So Neil, I'm really curious. You've been in this industry for 20 plus years. You've seen a lot. You've been involved in different brands, and I think we can all agree that different brands in a portfolio are different in terms of the guest experience, service standards. But here you are opening up a complex with two very distinct brands within it. I'm curious, was it an easy process? Is it more difficult when you have these two brands in the same complex?
Well, so Dr. Nick, opening a hotel in general it can be very challenging, and then you add on, two, and it's extremely challenging, and then you also add on that there are two different and distinct brands that could also throw in another challenge into the mix. I would say that it has been the most extremely challenging project that I've ever worked on in my
Mhm.
20 plus years in the industry. But we've got a great team that has responded well to this opening, and so for that, certainly a lot of things that we are doing and the processes that we go through make things a little easier.
That's great. Talk a little bit about Aimbridge and their role in this, because some people might assume just at face value that when they look at a hotel, and we have quite a few listeners that maybe aren't familiar with this industry. So they look at a hotel and they see Hilton on the branded logo on the hotel.
Mhm.
But in actuality, there's lots of different players involved in this process. And one of those players is Aimbridge Hospitality. Could you talk a little bit about Aimbridge and what your role has been with them and how they're involved in this opening?
Yes, absolutely. So, Aimbridge Hospitality is a third party hotel management company. We've been a company for 18 years, and I have been part of the group since the start in March in 2003. Aimbridge manages over 1,500 plus hotels. Currently, we are the largest third party hotel operator. And we started with 8 hotels, and again we've grown to
Wow.
date to 1,500 plus.
8 to 1,500. That's incredible.
Exactly. So the first hotel that I started at, actually, it was the Wyndham Garden Schaumburg in 2000, and in 2003, Aimbridge took over that property, and so I've been with them ever since.
For those also that aren't familiar, I mean, what is the role of a management company in this? I mean, clearly management is a part of that, but
Mhm.
when we talk about it from a perspective of a hotel, how does a management company play a role in this?
So there are three groups in our properties that are involved. So we've got ownership, we've got the brand, and then we also have us, Aimbridge, as a third party hotel management company. So when I tell friends about how Aimbridge gets involved, you typically would have an owner, who buys a hotel and maybe may or may not understand the operations, and so the brand recommends third party managers to
Mhm.
help facilitate that and to help operate the day to day operations of the property, and so Aimbridge. And again, had started with 8 hotels, has grown up to 1,500 hotels, and over time have just built a reputation, a solid one at that, to manage different brands. And so our ownership here decided that Aimbridge Hospitality was the company that they trusted to manage the property. And
Mhm.
so, being an employee of Aimbridge, I'm lucky enough to be able to work at a property and project like this.
And what I always find fascinating and really unique about a company like Aimbridge, and by no means is Aimbridge the only company out there that
Now
is a
there's several.
management company.
Yeah.
There's multiple, but one of the things about Aimbridge and management companies in general is that we talk in the industry about mobility and being able to move around to different companies and different
Mhm.
brands and to gain that experience. And we've had lots of guests on the show that have worked at different companies. So they've worked for the Hyatt, they've worked for the Hilton, they've worked for the Marriotts.
Mhm.
But within a management company like Aimbridge, you can do all that. You can have that brand mobility because,
Absolutely.
and so, you could write a couple chapters of your career at Hyatt and then switch over to Hilton. But at the end of the day, you're still working for Aimbridge, a company that you clearly believe in. I mean, you've been with
Yeah.
them for 18 years.
And absolutely, Dr. Nick, and I'm glad that you brought that up because I've been lucky throughout my career to be able to talk to students. In fact, I was able to talk to some of your students earlier this summer about Aimbridge and the opportunities that are available to hospitality students and
Mhm.
people wanting to get into hotels. But
Mhm.
the reason why I get excited about talking about my experience is because I've lived that. I've been in the hotel industry for 20 plus years. This is my ninth project with Aimbridge Hospitality. I've worked for the Hyatt brand, the Hilton brand. This is my second time working with Hilton. I worked for Wyndham. Back in the day, it was Starwood. I
Mhm.
worked for a couple Marriott properties. So, so as you mentioned, you can have the different brand experience, but then still have the seniority and work for one company. So any hospitality student that's looking to get into the business, get their foot in the door, I highly recommend to work at Aimbridge Hospitality, a company that has, again, 1,500 plus hotels
Mhm.
and endless opportunities.
Because I think a lot of times when I talk to students and when you talk to students, you probably hear something similar. A lot of them are focused on going to an organization where they can have a career, not just a job.
Mhm. Yeah,
And this is sometimes a very difficult decision for students to make because they think on paper something might fit very, very well with them. But what I always encourage them to do is I say, find a company and find a place where not only can you have a career, but the culture matches up with what you're looking for. At the end of the day, working at a front desk at one brand versus another brand is not incredibly different. I mean, the
correct.
check-in process, you need a form of payment, you verify rate, you verify length of stay, you give them a
Mhm.
room key, you tell them when checkout is, which that last part sometimes they always seem to forget. But what we really want students to do is to find a company, yes, where they can learn a lot, but where they can have a long journey with.
Mhm.
And that doesn't mean staying at the same property for 25 years, but that means finding a company that's going to support who you are and develop you over time for a career, not just a job.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%, and that's part of the reason why I've been with Aimbridge such a long time. They have given me many opportunities to really maximize my potential as a hotelier. I started my career as a front desk agent,
Mhm.
20 plus years ago, and here I am in the city of Chicago, arguably the best city in the country, trying to manage two properties. So the opportunities are endless,
Mhm.
and I'm a advocate and a spokesperson for our company.
Mhm.
Again, we've grown exponentially for a reason. We've grown our employees and our hotels, and there's a reason for that. That's just because we care, we support our employees, we want them to thrive, we want them to grow, and develop and mentor them to, again, maximize their potential. So yeah, I definitely highly recommend any student or any employee that wants to get into the business. We're a company that you can certainly work for and work with.
I love that you talked about Chicago as a hospitality town. We talk about this a
Mhm.
lot on the podcast. I mean,
Yeah.
we have guests from all over the world, but I'm kind of biased. I think Chicago is one of the best cities for hospitality with our, the culture that we have here, the 70 plus different neighborhoods that all offer a very unique experience, the great dining scene, the meeting and events scene, I mean, summer in Chicago along the lake is unbeatable.
I
Our
agree.
hotels are great. We have new hotels opening up, but we also have some incredibly historic hotels that are either still in the same beauty and splendor and architectural wonder that they were when they first opened, but others that have been changed and updated into something very different. What When you talk about Chicago to your colleagues and potential people thinking about coming to Chicago, what do you say? Like, why do you think it's such a great hospitality town?
Well, yeah, you hit on all of those points. I mean, when you think about the lodging, the and the hospitality, the restaurants, the theater, the concerts, the architecture, the excitement that surrounds the city is endless. I mean, you can do everything and anything at any day, at any time of the year here in the city of Chicago.
Mhm.
So I'm a big foodie, or at least I think I am. And gosh, you could just eat about anything that you want to at any
Yep.
time. So I'm a big Indian food fan. I can eat Thai on a Tuesday and then have
Mhm.
deep dish pizza on a Thursday. Then we can go to the north side and have some Ethiopian. I mean, it's you name it, we have it. And so that's what I tell folks that when they want to come to Chicago and ask why, what to see, what to do. We literally can do everything. So
Everything. Yeah.
that is what I tell them.
It's funny, we always seem to gravitate towards food right around lunchtime in our conversation. Whoever I have on the podcast, it inevitably, if I do about a 12, like an 11, we're recording this at 11:30 on a Friday, inevitably we start to get into food,
Oh,
and
absolutely. I can
and
feel it in my stomach.
we could go down a rabbit hole here just talking about food, but I want to focus a little bit more on the opening of the property.
Sure. Yeah.
The properties that I've been fortunate to open, it's an incredibly stressful time. It's probably the most stressful time in my career, including going up for tenure at a university. I was an airline pilot, a gusty landing at the Grand Canyon with 20 people on the plane with you. Probably not as stressful as opening up a hotel. Um, what were some of the challenges that you came across? And it doesn't have to be unique to it being a complex, but it could be. But what are some of the things that you found opening the hotel that, for lack of a better term, kept you up at night?
Well, first off, I gotta say that the biggest thing that I not only tell myself but our team is that this is going to be the most rewarding experience. Could potentially be the most rewarding experience in your career, opening up a property, but it could also be the most challenging. And with the challenges that we're faced, there's going to be chaos. There's going to be things that are going to be thrown our way that aren't planned. And so I ask them to embrace the chaos of everything. So when you take on that mindset that things are going to be hectic, they're going to be challenging, they're not going to work out in the way that we originally planned, but to embrace that, it really changes the approach of the day to day and the week to week. So there are many things that come along with an opening. There's construction. There's a group that installs our furniture and fixtures and equipment. And so there's a lot of people involved in trying to hit the one common goal, which is to open up these properties. And so with that, not everything runs smoothly.
Hmm.
And again, having the mindset of, if things don't work out, the important thing is that we embrace that and we know it's coming. But really, it's how do we adjust and how do we
Hmm.
adapt to those struggles and those challenges that we're being faced with. And so as I mentioned earlier, we have a great group of associates, great group of people, great construction team, and great ownership. So we have done so many things from the start of this project up to now to kind of combat some of the challenges that we've experienced.
Hmm.
And that happens to be the most challenging and stressful thing for me is that, are we going to open on time? Are we going to get this furniture delivered on this date? Are we going to have enough time to get these rooms 100% guest ready? Is
Hmm.
the cable going to work? Are the phones going to work? So we have, again, a lot of people in a group that's working towards one common goal. And so the biggest thing for me that kind of helps me sleep at night is just knowing that We can control what we can control,
Mm-hmm.
and the things that we can't, it's okay. We're going to be able to manage it, and at the end of the day, it'll all work out.
Yeah, I think for me, the openings that I've been a part of, the thing that was, and reopenings and brand new openings, it was the getting the guest visible space. So the lobby, hallways, but more importantly, the rooms,
Mm-hmm.
um, punched to make sure that they're 100% guest ready. It always amazed me when openings, the things that just you would scratch your head, be like, how did a toilet go missing? Like, how did somebody not realize that there was a toilet missing in this room? It's not a small item. It's not like, somebody took the compendium or the phone. I mean,
No,
the
it
toilet is
happens.
literally missing. It happens. And you kind of scratch your head and say, well, did anybody see someone walking out of with a toilet?
Yeah.
But getting those guest rooms 100% ready
Mm-hmm.
is an incredibly important task. But one of the things that I've always found, and I'd love to hear if you did as well, that it's not just you opening the hotel, it's the entire team. I mean, it is truly a all hands on deck,
Absolutely.
100% of whether you call them associates or team members,
Yeah, yeah.
or I mean, everybody has to be involved. And that moment of opening, it's almost like the birth of a child. I mean, it's a very emotional experience. I mean, I remember when I opened up the Wynn, people were in tears, and they were tears of joy because it had taken years. I
No,
mean, many of us
no.
started when it was still the Desert Inn Hotel, and we saw that hotel get imploded, and we saw this hotel getting built, and we saw the FFE get loaded into the hotel. And when it
Mhm.
finally happens, you're kind of like, wow, that's amazing.
Dr. Nick, you're describing our group and what we've just achieved here in most recent times with the Hilton Garden Inn, and we'll do it again with when we open up the Canopy. But yeah, you put in so much work, hard work and effort, long hours, and you spend time with the team, really setting out a plan. I look at myself as a coach of a team, and my goal is to get all of our players ready to be their best when the game time comes. So putting
Hmm.
together a plan in place and deploying the team and working together, answering questions and just kind of being there together to get things ready, is really what we've spent the past 3 or 4 weeks doing.
Hmm.
And like you said, sometimes things get missed in
Yeah.
that deployment, and the thing is, we're doing things multiple times, inspecting rooms several times, checking off checklists, and making sure that we have everything the guest expects in a
Hmm.
guest room. So yeah, it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of time, but it was last Thursday was extremely rewarding when we were out front of the Hilton Garden Inn and we cut the ribbon together
Cut the
as a
ribbon. I saw
team.
the picture on LinkedIn. Looked
Yeah, we
great.
cut the ribbon as a team, and everyone got a little bit of piece of the ribbon,
Hmm.
for them to always remember all of the hard work that they put into this property.
Yeah.
And so now that we're operating it, we're just so excited to welcome the guests to see all of our hard work. And so far, so good.
And they'll never forget that. I mean, even that little piece of ribbon, I mean, people will
Hmm.
have that forever. I mean, I remember when we opened up the Win, and we had just over 10,000 employees, and
Wow.
actually we started with around 11 because we knew we'd have just natural attrition. But
Wow.
every single one of the pre-opening team and the opening team got a little clock, like a little countdown clock, and it would start at whenever they got the clock, and it would hit zero. The timer would go off essentially right at the moment of opening and at the exact moment. And
Wow.
that clock,
That's
if you're
awesome.
if you're ever in my office at DePaul and you look on my bookshelf, it is front and center because it was an absolutely great experience.
Yeah.
One of the things, Neil, that I think a lot of people are curious about when you're opening a hotel is the training. And because so much of training in hospitality is in the trenches, actually cooking for people and actually
Hmm.
checking in real guests. So when we bring a new hire on at the front desk, we give them the boilerplate training that they need. But then the best way for them to really learn is to put them on the line and have a guest come up, an
Yeah,
angry guest or a happy guest. And
absolutely.
how did you do the training to make sure that you were at opening last Thursday, not going to skip a beat on making sure that you're meeting those service standards?
That's a great question, Dr. Nick. And the thing is, I really love role playing, and really working with the front desk and even our team on the F&B side of things, to really pretend that it's live. Like we're a live hotel. We actually invited our construction crew and our ownership to be involved and participate in our mock service at the restaurant. So I wanted the team to practice and really pretend like it was as if we opened up our doors. And then when it comes to the front desk, we did a lot of role playing. We put in a lot of fake reservations, multiple, and we had some of our team members pretend they were checking in, and really. We just continued to do that till some of our associates until they were comfortable with the systems that we have in place, and I thought that really helped us to be successful during our opening. But you are right. I mean, the best training is to get into it and to be in front of guests, and especially at the front desk. But that's what we did beforehand, and I think that it really helped us right before opening.
That's great to hear. That's great to hear. I mean, everybody does it a little differently in how they train,
Mhm.
but at the end of the day, training has to be done.
Yeah,
You can't send your team members or your associates into the trenches and into battle if they're not ready and they feel comfortable,
yeah,
because
yeah,
you can tell giving great service is so much easier when you're confident in your ability to do a job,
yeah,
and it will happen very quickly. It doesn't take, working at a front desk of a hotel is not an incredibly complex job. We've talked about this in the past,
yeah, yeah.
but it's an absolutely integral part of the hospitality experience if somebody's staying at a hotel.
Oh, absolutely. And one of my what I've been communicating to the staff, the biggest thing I want guests to know, all right, is that we are genuine and we are caring. So if it takes a little bit just to get familiar with the systems, even though we have done several trainings, we want to just put that out there that we're here, we're friendly, we're ready to take care of you. So it may take a couple minutes extra as we continue to get familiar with our systems,
Mhm.
but as long as we stay on top of our guests and provide them a good experience, I think that those things can be overlooked. But for us here, I think in no time, very shortly, our team is going to feel 110% confident that we can deliver on all the services that we offer here at the property.
That's great. Neil, as we wrap up, I'd like to turn our attention a little bit to guidance and advice that you have for the future leaders. You've been doing this for 20 plus years. There's going to be a time when you want to ride off into the proverbial sunset and enjoy retirement, and you need to turn the keys over to someone else. And succession planning is a big part of this. But if you're giving, I have two questions. One, we talk so much about mentorship. I'd like maybe for you to talk a little bit about the role that you see in mentorship and maybe people that have been a mentor to you, and then finally wrap it up with any advice you have for students looking to get into this segment of hospitality and tourism.
Sure. Well, I've been lucky, Dr. Nick, to have several mentors, but one who I really want to, particular that I want to call out is Jeremy Schaefer. Jeremy Schaefer works for another third-party hotel management company and oversees several properties as currently. But he is a man who really took upon himself to take me on as somewhat of a project. I started again very young, and working the front desk. I didn't know anything about hotels, and he is someone that really took me under his wing, kind of trained me, and really taught me the ins and outs of the hotel business. So for him, I think, and I'm forever grateful for his friendship and mentorship over the years.
That's great.
So really, for the biggest advice that I have for people, for associates or anyone who's young in their career in this industry, is to find a leader or a property who values their employees. A leader who will work hard to ensure that they have the right tools, training to be successful in their job. a group that makes it abundantly clear that they care for you and your development. It's places like that where you'll find leaders who are committed in growing their talent and will ensure your potential is maximized. So, I say, maximizing potential a lot with our team. And I want to make it very clear that, we are an organization, we are a group. I am a manager who wants to make sure that each and every associate that works at this property, their potential is maximized. So that is my biggest advice. And, that has served me well over the years.
Well, Neil, it seems like you are the embodiment of the hospitality spirit, and that's what we like to see. I can't extend enough gratitude to you for being on the podcast today. You've had an incredibly busy couple months. I know there's probably still a dozen things on your punch list that you got to take care of with the hotel. So, Neil, I really appreciate you taking the time to visit with us today on the Hospitality Spirit.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nick. I'd love to see you soon.
Check it out. First got it when he was 6, didn't know any tricks. Matter of fact,